Let me know in the comments. We can play. Can anyone hear me now? Yeah, good evening. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Samuel. Oh, I understand that the network might be very bad. Mm, yeah. All right. All right. Yeah, Samuel. Good to see you. Good to see you, Femi. Thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, I know the network might be very bad today, so um, people can still watch the good evening, Bosse. Is Bosse and Samuel in the same are you guys in the same circle with Abdul Qadir? Are you guys in the same circle with Abdul Qadir? That's interesting. I mean, thank you guys for showing up. Okay, okay, okay. That's good. So, I mean, uh, I'm a little bit, how do I put it now? Okay, okay. I'm a little bit, I'm not supposed to be tired. Stanley, good to see you. Good to see you. I'm not supposed to be tired because I've not done too many work today, but I'm not just sure like I'm in the right energy. I'm in the right mood to teach, but I know that once I start, I'm going to find my feet. Yeah, so I've been doing I think I did some bug fixes today. So yeah, I did a debugging with somebody as well. Priska, good to see you. I did a big debugging session with one of my students from the V2 Alt core, and that took us like 4 or 3 hours of debugging thereabout. So I think that's what really swapped all my energy out. Yeah, it was good doing the debugging session. We're trying to write tests. So the V2 guys now they should be graduating soon. They're trying to finish up their capstone project. So Sharaf was trying to write test for his React app, and he needed some assistance. So I mean, in the end, we're able to get it to work. So I mean, that's a beautiful thing there. So we got two tests right, working and passing, and I tweeted about it moments ago that Create React app is just a mess. So that's and before I started the stream, I took one apple and one banana. So instead of me taking energy drink or taking coffee, yeah, you could always eat things that are very good, that are healthy, right? To make sure that you yourself you're healthy. So today, right, I was supposed to continue from where we stopped in the last episode of the stream, right? Um, I mean, the last episode was more about the JavaScript fundamentals. That's like the part one, and I mean, it was a very interesting episode where I just sort of reintroduced JavaScript afresh to as many persons who were on the stream. I think that's like my most viewed stream so far. It has like the highest number of persons that were online that day as well. So yeah, I'm happy that persons are. I think somebody shared the link on a particular Slack. Yeah, so I really, really appreciate like as many of you guys that are trying to push this for me. Thank you so much. Um, I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah. As for as many persons that can see my screen, right? I stopped at the type conversion, and on the type conversion thing, we talked about how to convert from string, how you can convert from what, how you can convert from string to any other type, and we also talked about how you can convert from number to like any other type, right? And back and forth. And we also talked about the boolean conversion right there. And I think I closed with something amazing, which is like one of the most important things in JavaScript, and that's the fact that we have falsy values and we have truthy values, right? We have falsy and we have truthy values. And when you understand the concept of falsy and truthy values, then it will help you to understand, what is going on basically with JavaScript in terms of understanding how Boolean work in JavaScript. So we talked about the fact that false in itself is a falsy value. We talked about empty string being a falsy value. We talked about zero being a falsy value. We talked about null, undefined, NaN, right? All these values, they are falsy values. And the only one that is not falsy is what? Every other thing in JavaScript, variable that you declare, whatever you define, they are not falsy, right? They are going to be truthy. So that is the bulk of where we stopped in the last class. So I mean, yeah, on this today, on the stream today, right, the goal is to sort of um talk about basic operations with mathematical operations, right? Talk about comparisons, talk about optional chaining, and I want to talk about conditional branching, like your if statement and the logical operators and the knowledge coalescing operator. So I mean, within 1 hour, I should just finish up everything, and I'm going to like take questions. If you have questions, if you have any question in JavaScript you want to ask me, right? Anything that is confusing that you have, you can always ask me once I'm done, right? I'm going to attend to as many questions you can. I mean, today we can also take it a little bit outside of JavaScript. If you have any other question outside of coding, right, I can also attend to them basically. So that's what I intend to do today. I've got my VS Code running, and yeah, it's cool to, I don't know. I hope my VS Code is legible, right? So we can always declare a variable, right? We can always declare a variable. If you declare any variable, then you can always quote it, right? This is a string declaration. And for string declaration, we talked about the fact that you can use your backtick, right? You can use your double quote. When you use your backtick, we have the ability to what? We have the ability to use interpolation, right? And this is another very beautiful thing in JavaScript, right? The ability to what? To interpolate. To interpolate. And what do I mean by interpolation, right? What we mean by interpolation is what? The ability to what? The ability to bring in a dollar and curly braces where you can actually do a valid JavaScript operation, where you can actually do a valid JavaScript operation. So right here, if we console.log this variable here, you're going to have what? Look at here. We have this what? Ojo 4. So this 2 plus 2 is processed using JavaScript right here. And the funny thing is you can undo any what? Mathematical operation in this place. It allows you to bring in any mathematical operation, valid mathematical operation, and it will still work 100% fine. And yeah, that is the beauty of your JavaScript right here. So when we're talking about mathematical operation, what do we sort of expect in mathematical operations? To be honest, in your mathematical operations, you want to understand what it even means to even have what are operators. Like when we are doing your mathematics in your secondary school level, we're talking about 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, the minus, the additions, right? What are operators, what are operands, getting to understand. There is something we call concatenation of strings, where you join two strings together. We talked about the numeric conversion as well. We also talk about operator precedence, like something we call board mass, right, in programming. So how does something like board mass work in programming? Then we talk about the assignment, right, the assignment sign itself, which we've introduced a little bit, right, but now we're going to be seeing it fully in its power and what it can do. Also, we're going to be also looking at the modifying place, right? How do you can modify your assignment operator to have different variations. We're also going to talk about the increment and decrement and the common bitwise operator. The bitwise operators are not common, so we're just going to talk about them as well. And we also have the comma operator. Some of my students on the call should know the comma operators because we've used the comma operator, right? One form or the other. So let's jump right into it. We have terms. When you're talking about mathematical operation, right, the first thing that we have here is that um we sort of have like something you call the unary. You have a unary operator, right? You have the binary. You have a binary operator, and we have what the ternary operator. So here, what does unary means? Unary means that it just involves what one operator, right? Just one thing. So for example, now if we are talking about, whenever you're talking about any operation that involves any operator that involves just a sign, a particular operator, right, and a particular operand, that's what you refer to as what a unary operator. So for example, now your sign, your mathematical sign, where you have like your plus, your negative, all these guys here they can stand as what your unary operator. So for example, I can do a console.log, a console.log. We can always ask for, say we can always say you declare console.log1, and we can also do like console.log plus 1, which is what plus 1, and you can do a console.log what -1. Now let's assume here that we declare number to be what, to be 10, right? And so if we want to console.log, let's say we declare this to be a string, and then we want to log this and convert it back to number. So with the help of the plus number, we are able to convert it down back to what number. And this plus here is serving as what, a unary operator. And another thing here is that it's so beautiful that we can also do what, a type of. And this type of as well is what, this type of also is serving as what, is serving as something that tells us what is the type of the new thing. So if you do the type of what, the type of the first one up here, right, it's going to give us what, a string. But the moment we come down to this place here, the type of this is what, number. And you can see that that is one example of what your unary what operator here. So another thing that we can do here is that we can, just by saying negative number, since we declared positive number, and by saying negative number, we have converted this to what, to a negative instead of positive, and that's still what, a single operation that we are able to carry out right there on our number. And there are other, there are various other things that you can do here with your we also have some other ones that you can do with your number plus plus, right? You have something like this, which is number, and then you can attach what, plus plus. And this plus plus is serving as one single operator, right? It's serving as one single operator. And you can also do what negative negative, right? Negative negative, right? That's serving as one operator as well. And another thing you can do is you can do what exclamation number. What is exclamation number? Exclamation number is going to try to convert what number to boolean. So what does exclamation number means? Exclamation number, that is number that is defined and declared is a truthy value, right? It's a truthy value. But when you do the exclamation, exclamation is what? Give me the not of that thing. So the exclamation sign is representing the not. So when you do the not of something that is true, right, we get false, right? Just like you're saying, like, what is the opposite of what? The opposite of true, right? You get your false back. So the exclamation is serving as not in this situation, and it is just one single operator as well, right there. So that is that about that. Then when we move to the binary, right, we have the ability to do like 2 plus 2, right? That's binary. So the plus sign here is serving as what the operator, right? While your what your 2 and 2 is serving as your, what's it called now? The plus sign is serving as what? Operator, while the 2 and 2 is serving as what? Operand. Operand. And this applies to both negative, right? Applies to multiplication, applies to your integer division, applies to your remainder division, right? It applies to what else? If almost all the operators. What are the other operators that we can do? Well, I think that's all the operators that we can do. Okay, we can do exponent as well. You can do exponent, 2 raised to power 2. So 2 raised to power 2 is 4. And I think, does this still work? Doesn't work anymore. Yeah, no. So this is what? Exponent, 2 raised to power 2. So that is that about binary. And when we move to ternary, right? You know your ternary, right? Ternary is just one single, like it's just a operator that has 3 signs. It has 2 signs and it has what? It accepts 3 operands. It has 2 signs and it has 3 operands. So, and I mean, it's just something like this here, where if 1 is less than 2, right? In this situation, right, is going to, so for this operation, it is true. So yes, is going to be the answer. Whereas if this were to be what? False, right? If this is false, right, no would have been the answer. So in this situation, if you console.log result, what are we going to have? Result is going to be what? No. Result is going to represent no. Now, for those who are just joining the stream for the first time, right, if you're just joining the stream for the first time, right, we're trying to introduce JavaScript, right, and we're trying to talk about basic mathematical operations, understanding what a unary operator, what a binary operator means, and what a ternary operator means, right? And that's what you can see that we're trying to do here. And just normal basic operations that we can do, right? You can do your addition, right? You can do your subtraction, right? Multiplication, division, modulus, exponential, right? You can do your integer division. Yeah, you can do all these beautiful things in your operators and operand. I believe that is clear, right? Very clear enough. And also, how many of us know we've seen modulo before, right? You've seen modulo before. Modulo is the percentage sign in your JavaScript. It's not that common, but it is the percentage sign. And yeah, this is your integer division, right? Your integer division, and you have this there. Another thing you notice is that this is the only operation that has this color here, right? This is the only operation that has this yellow color, and this means that this is a complex operation, right? Right, because it does not involve one statement, it involves more than one statement, right? You could say that what the result of this would either give us this or give us this, and that is why it is a complex statement. But the other ones are just green and they mean they are just one simple statement, right? It's one simple statement. It is not a technical what concept, a technical, it's not a complex what, it's not a complex what statement. So another thing that we can do is what we can do concatenation of two strings. This is my first programming task that I ever did in my life at an academic level. So the I think the doctor or the professor gave us join your first name, first name, and the person asked us to join the first name and the last name together. So this is what concatenation of strings. All right. So what do we use to concatenate here? You use the plus sign here to do the concatenation. So as at this point here, this is what we have, and as at this point here, this is the combination of what both of the things that we have. So you have your first name and your last name, and both of them, they are now what concatenated together. How can we convert this? If we want to convert this to if we want to convert this to, if we want to refactor, we can refactor that, right? You can refactor it to uh, template literal. Can you see this beautiful feature from VS Code? Did we just see that beautiful feature from VS Code? So I just used my VS Code to refactor that word, the concatenation, right? To what? To use template literals. What are template literals? Template literals, they are string declaration where you use your what? Your back tick. So to understand, to do that again is what you right click, right? You click on the refactor, right? When you click on the refactor, then it can always refactor it back to, so I can return it back to what it was, right? You right click on this, you do the refactor, and it gives us a list of things that you want to do right there, and you can say please convert to template to what literal, and that is very, very sweet with your VS Code. Is that clear? Is that clear? So that is concatenation, right? Another thing that I would love to do right is to show us, we've talked about how to convert something from one type with a single unary operator, right? So you can convert something that is string, you can convert something that is, can I do this? No, you can't. It doesn't have any serious value right there. So another thing that we can do is you can do the assignment. Okay, let's do operator precedence. Operator precedence. That is, how does the computer process things? So in this situation, what's the result of A, right? If you look at A, so if you do this first, 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 multiplied by 3 is 9, right? But that's the wrong way to do it, right? The right way would have been to first do what? The multiplication, which is what? 3 times 2, right? 3 times 2, that is 6. Kenechukwu, good to convert, good to connect with you, all right? Yeah. And you can always add 1 to what? To the result of what? 6, which is 7. So you see the way the computer was able to sort it out right there, right? And you know, there are other complex things that the computer is able to process. The computer is able to process other complex operations for us using the operator precedence. Another thing that, yeah, so the computer does not necessarily use something called board mass, right? The computer uses something we refer to as, it has a precedence table on MDN. There's a precedence table on MDN. See who is on the call, see who is on the stream. Danjuma, the number one person in Ibadan is on the call. Sorry, are you the new Olubada? They should give you the new Olubada title. But it's good to see you, my boss. That's like it was my senior in the secondary school. Yeah, it was my senior in secondary school. Is Honorable Danjo on Twitter, and he's a big brother. Thank you for the support as well. Thank you for the support. So right here, I'm going to copy the link of operator precedence, right? The way the computer sort of does like operator precedence in the way JavaScript compiler does operator precedence. I'm going to just copy it and put it in the chat for anybody who wants to understand how computer sort of does its own thing. But majorly, every operator has a number. Every operator has a particular number rating. That is, it is that number rating then that the computer used to adjust the number of, okay, so if it is bracket first, or if it is multiplication first, or if it is addition first. So that's the way the JavaScript compiler sort of like does the precedence thing right here. He runs a coding academy in, yeah, Danjuma runs a coding academy in Ibadan and Abuja, if I'm correct. And he's just a big businessman. If you want to do anything business, right there is the fearless salesperson, and he's a politician too. I hope that one day he becomes the governor of your state one day. So thanks for the support, big bro. Right there. So I'm going to drop you the link for operator precedence for as many persons who wants to see get to understand how the computer does the operator precedence there. MDN is the MDN is the MDN is the full place where you have all the information right there. So for those who are looking to learn coding around Ibadan, right? If you're in Ibadan, right? Yeah, you can sign up for Lava Academy. I think I've been there. Yeah, I've been in the beautiful facility around Akobo. Yeah, you can always check it out right there, and you'll be in good hands. So the link I shared in the comment section is the way JavaScript sort of like arrange the operators, and it used to determine which one should it run first. And the way they taught us in our younger days when you're doing your high school mathematics is they teach you board mass, right? They teach us board mass. That's what they teach us, right? Board mass or bed mass, right? So bracket of division. What's the full meaning of board mass again? Bracket of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, like that. And if it is bed mass, it is bracket. Is it the E is standing for? I can't remember what the E stands for, but the E is standing for bracket expressions. I think so, something like that. And but it's just a way for you to understand how the computer sort of arrange things in the JavaScript compiler, right? All these signs are numbered. All the signs are numbered, and that way, when it encounters an operator, when it encounters which one, it sort of use the count to determine which one should come first and which one should not come first. I think I don't know whether I shared this with some of my students in the early days. I shared something around what is it again? There's this particular tool that you can use to understand the code that you write. I can't remember what that thing is again. Uh, my memory is failing me right there. Uh, my memory is failing me so bad. I don't know if anybody is on the call that can remember. The tool is it helps you to break down any code into the way the compiler passes that code. Where's Perplexity AI? I need Perplexity AI to come in and remind me. Perplexity AI. Perplexity AI. Perplexity AI. That would have been um a a a programming parser now. A web application that passes code built in JavaScript. Yeah, Perplexity AI is dangerously good. Uh, what's the name of this? What's the name of this? God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. It's a very beautiful tool that I usually share out. Maybe let me just continue teaching. I believe that before I finish teaching, I would remember. So once I remember that tool, I'm going to show you how the tool works. It helps you to visualize the way the compiler sort of runs your code. Ah, I don't like it when I forget things. I really don't like it when I forget things. A web application that passes code built in JavaScript. Uh, uh, pass JavaScript code string. I need to really write a lot of things down on the internet, because if you don't use some informations, you just forget about all these things. But I know I've mentioned it to some of my students in the early days of me teaching. If you check some of my early teachings on videos, you would have seen that is a very beautiful tool that sort of like it helps you to really see what goes on in a way JavaScript sort of passes your code. Shit, I can't remember, but let me just give up. Let me give up. Ah, it's sad I can't remember. So sad I can't remember. But it will help you to really understand how operations like this, carries out. And so, for example, now this operation here, if I add bracket here, what happens? If we had a bracket here, what happens? Right? You see that what the value changes to 9, right? Because we have changed the order of the expression, right? The order means that please first carry out what 1 plus what plus 2, and that's 3, and then multiply 3 by what 3, and that's 9. So these are beautiful things that you should be aware of when you're doing your mathematical operations. And then we have the assignment sign, where you can always do what num equals to what 9. And so here you've assigned what 9, or you've assigned the value of 9 to be num, right? And that is a beautiful thing there. And you can always do what this is called an assignment sign. Another thing you can do is you can say what let sum equals to what 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3, right? That is what you're saying, that the result of what is on the what right hand side, store it inside the left hand side. So what does an assignment operator do? The result of what you have on the right hand side, it saves it on the left hand side. The result of what you have on the right hand side saves on the left hand side. And that is something beautiful that JavaScript can do, the assignment operator. And so for the assignment operator, we have some interesting modifications of the assignment operator. We have some interesting modifications of the assignment operator. That is, with the assignment operator, we are able to do something like what a modify, like you can modify the assignment, modify the assignment, the assignment sign. So you have what the combination of the assignment sign with what addition, the combination of assignment sign with what subtraction, the combination of assignment sign with what multiplication and with division. And you also have what modulo right here, and what combination of assignment sign with this exponent here. So what we're saying here is, the first example is, if you do num plus what equals 3 plus num equals 3, what happens here? This is the same thing as what this. And if you do num minus what minus equals what 3, What are you doing here? You're doing the same thing here. And then if you do like this here, you have what? And what's the value of norm now? The value of norm should be what? The value of norm should be 27. So after this first operation, the value of norm is what? 12. That is, you're adding 3 to your 9, right? And after this first operation here, the value of norm is what? 9. That is, you're subtracting 3 back, right? Which gives us our 9. And after this operation, you're multiplying what? You're multiplying 9 with what? With 3, and saving the result back into norm variable. And that is what the beautiful thing there right here. So this is 27, so which is 9 times 27, but we are saving the result back inside what? Norm variable right there. So we're saving it back inside what? Norm variable right there. Right there. Thank you, Abdul Qadri. I'm going to try to remember. I will try to remember, because it's a very important tool for every programmer to have. So you understand the modify in place version of all of these signs here. So this is called modify in place. That is the combination of assignment sign with what? The combination of your assignment sign with what? With the combination of assignment sign with any the combination of assignment sign with any the combination of your assignment sign with any what do you call it, any sign, right, ranging from your addition to subtraction to multiplication to your division to your integer division to your modulo division and to your exponent. And that is the beautiful thing there. We also have what? The operation here. So what you're saying here is that what you're doing, what the remainder of what? Divide what? Divide 3 with 9 and divide 9 with 3, right? If there is any remainder right there. And the last one that we want to do would have been, let's just do 2 so that we can get 1. If we do 2, you get 1. And the last one that I want to show you is what you can do, what? Number exponent, right? Assignment what? 2. So it means that what? Do what? 1 raised to power what? 2, and save the result back inside what? Save the result back inside norm, and norm is still going to be 1 raised to power 2 is what? 2 right there. So these are modify in place. These are beautiful things in JavaScript which you call modify in place. Then we have what? The increment, right? You have your increment and decrement. So the increment and decrement is the popular plus plus and what? The minus. And they both have what? They are pre and what? They are post what? Version. They have what? The pre and the post what? Version. They have what? The pre and the post version. So what happens in the pre? What happens in the post version? So let's see. When you do what? The pre what? When you do the pre what? Increment. The pre increment, you are sort of doing something like what? The pre increment means that you are doing what? You are doing what? Plus plus and a particular variable. And the post equivalent of that is what? Plus plus. You're doing number and plus plus. Yeah, I think my internet also is internet was went off for a while there, but I'm back. My internet went off for a while there. Internet is crazy everywhere. How are you guys coping with the internet voila? How are you guys coping with the whole internet problem? It is really, really bad, because some of my co-workers are struggling to come to meetings at work. So in this situation now, right, we have what? Y and X variable. So we can do, if you do what? The pre, right? If we do the pre increment, we can do what? Plus plus X. So plus plus X, what is plus plus X going to do for us? Plus plus X is going to be what? That is, it's going to instantly what? Increase what? Instantly increase the value of X just by 1, right? And if you want to increase the value of X, right, So if you do, this is the what, the pre-increment right there. And if you want to do the what, post, if you want to do the post now, post would have been what, post increment would have been xx what, xx x plus plus x plus plus, right? And the value of x plus plus would still be what, 3. So now, why is the value of what, pre 4, and why is the value of post what, 3? So it means that the post have a condition, and the condition with post is that the operation, right, the operation will not change, right? The operation will not change. The operation will not change, but the original value, the what, the original value of what, the original new value, the original new value will what, will change, the original value will change. So if you console.log x now here, you will see that what, the value of x has increased to 4, whereas this operation in itself did not change. It is 3, but the value of x has what, increased by 1. The same thing if we try it again one more time, and you do what, x plus plus. So now x plus plus again will give us what, 4. But if I ask for the value of x, x will now be what, 5, and that is what happens with what, the post what, increment. The post increment is a very beautiful post increment is a very beautiful operation in your what, in your JavaScript right there. Can you still hear me? So that is what happens with what, the what, with the what, the post and the pre-increment, Hey, sorry to hear that, Martin Kenechukwu, that the network is really bad. I hope tomorrow before classes, lectures tomorrow, everything would have been fixed up. All right, I'm coming, please. Just give me a second. So that is that about what, the increment and decrement. The same thing that happens to what, the positive here, we can do it with what, the negative. Wrap with console.log, wrap console.log, which is what, here, for right here. And so here in this situation, here for the negative ones here, you have what, if it is negative, pre-decrement. So let's do y minus minus, and here the value of y would have become what, 2, right? Because that one doesn't have any problem. But when you do y plus plus, what happens to y plus plus? So the operation will not change, but the original value will change. So here y will become 3. Yeah, y will still be 2 here, but if you console.log what, if you console.log the value of what, y would have become 3. So that's something to always note anytime you're dealing with what, the pre and the post increment there. And the last thing we want to do is what, the bitwise what, the bitwise operators. The bitwise operators are very, very not too common, but let's play with them. Let's play with them a little bit so that we can get a hang of how they also work. The bitwise operator, I think they are not just very common in situations. So let's assume, right, that we have um hmm. Okay, there's something I want to quickly talk about before I move so fast. When we talk about the assignment sign here, the assignment operator, you know that we can you can chain your assignment operator. We can chain chain the what? The assignment what? Operator. Operator. So when I say you can change the assignment operator is I mean that what you can do something like this. So what have you done? Right? Both what? Both your what? Both numbers, right? Num1, num2, and what? Num1, num2, and what? They are all going to be what? 9. And that is what? The chaining. Another thing you can do is what? We can also do something like this. Let what? A, right, comma B, right, comma C. And you can declare this and define them. And you can now say that what? A is equals to what B is and is equals to what C is, right? And is all of them, they are both equal to 2 plus 3 plus what? Plus 4. And that is your what? Your chaining of the assignment. And this way, we are then able to what? Console.log the value of what? ABC. And that is what? So we can say A has been used before. Let's do A1. And this is but this is another very beautiful thing here with your code, right? So you can chain your assignment operator. They are not common, but you can chain them. So the bitwise operations, you have what? Your hand, right? We have your hand in your bitwise operator. You have your or. So in your bitwise here, we have what? This is the hand. This is the or, right? This is the exclusive or. This is the what? Not, right? And this is the shift, right? The left shift, the right shift, and the what? The zero what? The zero fill right shift right there. I think I just recently used some of these bitwise operator recently. They are very, very amazing. They can, I mean, if you know how to use them, right, they are very amazing. You can really go far with what you can do with the bitwise operator there. So let's just see one example, right, of some examples of the bitwise. So here, if you do something like this, console.log 5 and what? 5 and 1. What happens here? So definitely, right, it's picking what? It's picking what your 1 here as the result. And if we do another one here, when you do what? Console.log what? 5 or 1, right? You have what? The 5, which is taking what? Precedence in this situation here. Then we also have another one that we can do is what? You can do what? The exclusive or of your what? 5 and exclusive or 1, right? Is what? You have what? Your 4. Another thing is we can try another example of console.log. So what this operator does is just like it shifts the bits, like it shifts each of the bits one after the other. So in this situation now, in this situation of let's do 6 and shift by 1, right? You have what? The shift by 1 returns back to us what? 4. Returns back to us what? 7. Right there. And the shift, the this is what? This is exclusive what? The exclusive the caret is the exclusive X. Let me just put the names beside them so that I don't have to crap. You have the hand and you have the or, and we have the XOR, right? You have the XOR. We have uh the not. There's also the not sign there, which is what? Tilde. We have the right shift. You have the the first one is the left shift, and the left shift, and we have the right shift, and then we have the what's it called now? We have the zero fill right shift, I mean, I've not used these things before now. I've not used them. I've not had opportunity to use them other than recently, where I was trying to do a prime number, and I think the right shift came handy. Right, the right shift came handy one way or the other. But the thing is, it does the shifting of the beats, right? It shifts these beats in a way that I cannot really explain, that I don't know, but I just know that it shifts the beats one beat per time. And this is so the not 5 gives us what, -6, and we have the 5 left shift by 1 gives us what, 10. I would really love to know how this works, right? I know that people who do C++, this is they would really understand the internal workings of this. But I know that this sort of does like, this is just like I think it's like a remainder after it has shift like 2 times and then it remains 1. I can't really say exactly explain how it's working behind the scene. Let's duplicate this, except I go and read more about how they are working, because I've not had any reason to use them ever. This is very, 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 very interesting. It will be good to know how they work behind the scene. It will be good to know how they work behind the scene. I can't really see how it works behind the scene, trust me. And the last one to show is the zero fill, which is the double shift right there. So I don't know how the result is too, but trust me, I will find out and get back to you guys on how that works. The bitwise operators, they're not common. You don't really see them so much around in code bases. But for me, I just use the normal arithmetic. That's what I've been using. So if you want to really know more about this, I will find another time. I'm going to really go deep into how they work behind the scenes so that I can show you guys how they work behind the scene. And the last one I want to talk about is the comma operators. The comma operators they're very, very funny. Comma operator. So the comma operator is in this way where if you have something like this, if you have this A2, right, you have this operation and you have this operation, what happens? The computer will carry out this operation, but it will save the result of what? It will save the result of what? The what? The left one. So, sorry, is this the left one? The last operation, which is what? Which is your what? Your 3 and 4 is what will be saved inside of this place right there. So again, if you have what? Let's say you have a console.log, let's say you have 99 comma, if you have 99 plus 1 comma 66 plus 4. So yeah, your console.login what? Obviously, this is going to log the result of this, log the result of this. But if you take this and pass it into a variable, if you take this and pass this into a variable, that would have been what? Let what? B2 equals to something like this right there. And if we console.log B2, what is going to be in our B2? B2 is going to be the last one, which is what? The 56 and 4. And that is what your comma operator does, right? It evaluates the two operations and take the last one, right? Store the last one into the variable right there. So that is that about the mathematical operations right there. And definitely the next thing we want to move into is the comparison, right? What are the tools that JavaScript gives us to compare, right? Starting from you have this you have the equals to, and you have what? You have the strict equals to, and you have the strictly equals to, and you have the what? Not equals to, and you have what? The strict not equals to, and you have your what? Your greater than, right, comma, you have your less than, comma, you have your greater than or equals to, comma, you have your less or equals to, comma, right? All these are what? the comparison operator. So what is the work of the comparison operator? They allow us to compare values. So you can always compare values from, right? Compare two values. So I can do a console.log is 1 equals to 1 right there. And you can see that what the 1 is equals to 1 is 2 equals to 1. No, 2 is not equals to 1. So you get your false there. So the comparison, they return Boolean. Right? That's the thing with the comparison, it returns Boolean. Now, this is another very interesting thing, right, with the comparison. So is 1, if we do what the string of 1 this way now, is it the same thing as this? Yeah, JavaScript is funny. So you're saying string 1 is the same thing as what? Number 1. So what happens here is that JavaScript as a engine sort of what it checks what here in this sense it compares their value. That's the only thing it's comparing. It's comparing the value, and deep inside of this one here it brings both of them right to the same what to make sure they are in the same data type, and it compares their outcome. But if you check this now with a strictly equals to, what do you get? If you check this with a strictly equals to, you get what? False. Because the strictly equals to is now telling you that, well, I'm not just comparing their value, I'm also comparing their type. I'm not comparing their value alone, I'm comparing what? Their type. And that is what happens there with what? The strictly equals to. So this ordinary equals to, right, compares just value, while the what? The strictly equals to compares what? The value and the type. Compares the value and what the type, compares the value and the type. And that is what the beautiful thing that happens there. Also, the same thing happens to the not equals to, right? The not equals to. So you can say console.log 2 is not equals to 1 for sure. That's true right there. And you can say that what yeah, we can do this. That is, string 1 is not strictly equals to what this, and I say yeah, it's true, both of them are not the same thing. And that is what happens here with your strictly equals to right there. And so that is that with what the equals to and the not equals to. So the equals to has what? The equals to, the strictly equals to, then you have what? The not equals to, right, and the not strictly not equals to right there. But understand that what the beautiful thing that they are doing is comparison of value and what? Type. Value and type. One compares the value, one compares the type, one compares the value, one compares the what? The type. So it checks that are they the same data type, right? Are they the same value, or are they the same data type right there? And you also have your normal comparison of your console.log, right? You can do your console.log is 2 greater than what? 5, which is false, right? Or you can do is what? Is 2 less than 5, right? That is that's another interesting thing, the less than. Or you can do the less than equals to, right? The less than equals to. So you can do greater than or equals to. Is it greater than or equals to, or is it less or equals to? And those are very beautiful things that you can do. Note that the result of your comparison will always be what? The result of your comparison will always be what? A Boolean. The result of your comparison will always be what? The result of your comparison will always be what? A Boolean right there. So there's a special case for console.log for null and undefined. Null, null, and what? Undefined. So what happens with null and undefined? The case with null and undefined is that if we do a console.log again, just to print, is null equals to undefined. That is, both of them, their value, are they the same thing? Yes. Null is nothing, undefined is nothing. They are both nothing. But if we want to really zoom in deeper, you can now say that what? Compare their value and compare their what? Type. So is null strictly equals to undefined? He said no. Null is different. Null means nothing. Whereas undefined means that they did not even define me, they did not give me any value. So for null, you can say null still has a value. That is null, there's something inside. But for undefined, it doesn't even have anything, it's not existent. And that's what happens with your undefined. And the same thing happens to NaN as well. Let's check something. NaN is just what? Not a number. And how do you arrive at NaN? If we see NaN in any code base, what happens is that what they are trying to what you only get your NaN if you're trying to do something that involves something like this: 0 divided by 0. That's infinity, right? Anything divided by 0 is infinity. But the computer will sort of saves it as what? Okay, it's not infinity. So computer understands infinity separately. So 0 divided by 0 is NaN, not a number. So we can do a. Let's do string a. Let's do string a. Let's do string a. That's string a divided by what? 0. So you get NaN. So when something is not a valid division, anytime an operation is not a valid division, then the computer tells you that, well, that's not a number. I can't process it. I don't know what they're talking about. So I'm just going to save it with what? Not a number right there. And between, we also saw the infinity right there. Anything divided by 0, 10 divided by 0 gives us infinity right there. So these are very interesting operations in your JavaScript. And I think that is that with that. Another thing that we should do is what? The if statements. The if statements. So we have what? Your what? Conditional statement, conditional statement. So for the conditional statement, I can say that what? Age is 19, and I can say that what? Look at this now. If age is greater or equals to 19, just console.log, you're an adult. And this is very beautiful because right here is a condition, like a condition. And you're saying that if this condition matches, then tell the person that they are an adult. So if this is true, so you can see that what the moment I highlight on this, it tells me that the result of that operation is true. But let's go the other way around. Let's say the age of the person is 1. And you can see here that, well, it's saying like this age, I don't know, 1 greater or equals to 18. That's not possible. So it's going to be false. And you can console.log what? You are an adult. You can console.log you are an adult right there. So that is what your if statement right there. And it will always do a Boolean conversion of this. It will always do what? A Boolean word check. That is the comparison of this. And another thing is what? It's possible for us to do what? If age is true. If age is true, you can say what? Console.log, right? You can console.log. You have a age. You have a age. You have a valid age. So this is another interesting thing in JavaScript right here. So here, what is age? Age is 1. And because 1 is true, but if I set the person's age to be 0, if I set the person's age to be 0, you can see now that because this age is 0, what happens? This statement is no longer running because 0 is what? A what? A falsy value. 0 is a falsy value. So what are the examples of falsy values again? For falsy values, you have what? You have your what? Your 0, you have your empty string. What else do we have? We have your false, you have your null, you have your NaN, and you have your undefined, right? These are falsy values. So you must understand that when you're writing your if statement, the syntax of the if statement is if and what? And condition, if and condition, if and condition, if and condition right there. So if and condition right there. So your falsy values are something that you should always know. Always know your falsy values. It is very, very important for us as JavaScript engineers to know our falsy values, because you know that Outside of the false values, the rest is what? Truthy. The rest is what? Truthy. So you must always know your false values and understand how your false values affect your condition. Understand how your false values affect your conditional statement. Understand how your false value affects your conditional statements. All right. So that is that about what? Conditional statement, the first arm of the conditional statement. Now, the second arm of the conditional statement is that in this conditional statement right here, you can always have what? The else part, right? So for all of the things that we've done here, right there, we can duplicate it, right? Duplicate it. If we duplicate this, so here, if you now want to write the else part, the else is what? You're opening another else and curly bracket here and say you're what? A minor. And so what is the value of age? Age is what? 1. Also, age is 0. And here is 0 greater or equals to 18? No. And you can see that what is the else part that is being called here. And right here again, you can add the else part to this place right here. And you can say what? You have an invalid age. So if this is not correct, right, you can also say they have an invalid age here. So you understand that what for our if statement, the syntax of your if statement is what? If is a keyword. You open your bracket, you then have your conditional statement, right? You have your conditional statement. That is, anything within this bracket is referred to as a conditional statement. It will what? Evaluate to either true or false. What did I say? It will evaluate to what? Either true or false. It will evaluate to either what? True or false. It will evaluate to what? Either true or false. It will evaluate to what? Either true or false. So for your conditional statements again, anything within this bracket here must always evaluate to what? Either true or false. And that is the word, the beautiful thing that happens with your word conditional statement. Another thing that you will see often is that what you can see people write code like this. You will see some engineers write code like this. They don't use the curly brackets. You see some engineers, they don't use the curly bracket. Is this correct? Is this correct? Anybody? Is this correct? Anybody has an idea whether this is correct? When people don't use the curly bracket like this. Is this correct? When people don't use the curly brackets like this, is this correct? So long as it is one statement that follows that thing, it is correct. So the console.log here is just one statement, right? The console.log that followed the else is just one statement, right? The console.log that follows it is one statement. So yeah, very, very valid. But when you are writing code in a professional setting and you just don't want to just put something like this. So that's why you see most developers go with the curly braces. The curly braces is showing scope. Your curly braces is introducing scope. So here it means that we can write multiple things here. You can write multiple things here, right there. You can write multiple things right here, and that's what your curly braces is saying. It allows you to write multiple statements, and this condition is going to apply to this right here. So this if statement is a very basic element in your JavaScript, very basic element in your JavaScript. All right. And another thing that you should know about this is we have another level of this. So the first level was if statement, the second level was if and else statement. And then we now have what? You have your multiple conditions. So you can do what? If age 1 is equals to 0, right? You're saying age 1 is equals to 18, you're an adult, right? And you can do what? Else if age is what? This. If it is what? If your age is greater or equals to 13, right? That is, those that fall between 18 and 13, it is this condition that will affect them. And if you want your other part, so here in this situation here, if we change the age to be what? 1 3, 1 3, you're a teenager. If we change it to 1 4, teenager, right? 1 5, 1 6, 1 19. Sorry, from 19, from 18 down upward, they are what? Adults. And that is your what? Your multiple conditions. So this is very beautiful here. Very, very beautiful. There's a popular question that they usually give computer science students in maybe like just starting. How do you know the greatest between two numbers, three numbers? The greatest of three numbers. So assume that the three numbers are what? A, comma, B, and comma C. How do we know the greatest? So let's assume that we have A to be what? Oh, Favor. Hello. Hi, Favor. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. So if we have this declaration, like, did I talk about declarations with comma? I don't know whether I talked about declarations with comma. I think there's a lag between when you guys hear me, right? I don't know whether there's a lag, but good to see you, Favor. Thank you for joining the stream. Thank you for joining the stream. So if you want to declare multiple variables, you can declare multiple variables with comma. That is, it will use just one let with what? This declaration, and this declaration. All right. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Thank you so much for joining the stream. Now, look at this. If A is greater than B, greater than, and A is greater than C, then you can console.log that what? That A is the greatest. I mean, these are very simple things, like very, very simple things, but this is what they give computer science students when they are just starting out. Right? You're saying that what? If definitely, if A is greater than what? B, definitely you know that the only thing that A is going to be fighting with now is only what? C. And if A is now greater than C as well, then you know that A is greater than both what? B and C. And so A is the biggest value right there. And in this situation right here, you can see that what? A is 10, B is 20, and C is 30. So it doesn't work. So we want to do what? Another what? Else what? Else what if? So in this situation now, what is left is that if B, if you check what? If you check, let's check B greater than what? If B is greater than A, right? And B is also greater than C, right? Then we know that B is the greatest. And else, if A is the greatest, or if A is not the greatest, if B is not the greatest, which one will be the greatest? C would have been the greatest. So these are very interesting things for you to be able to play with as computer, as people who are learning to write code right there. I mean, this is the advantage of your what? You can see that this is a complex condition, right? A complex condition. You can see that we've not talked about something like this before. That is, it will combine the result of this. What is the result of this? True, false, with the result of this. So it will combine this result, right? Combine this result and combine them together using what? The multiple. So this is another one. It checks this. If this is true, it also checks this, right? And then it combines what? It combines the what? The true and what? False. This is and. So we're going to get into this later on where we talked about what we're talking about when we talk about the logical what? Logical operators. Logical operators. That is, logical operators allow us to combine what? Multiple comparison. So we can quickly touch on logical operators. operators. Logical operators are just allow us to use what? Your hand, or, and what? Not. So this is standing for what? The hand. This is standing for what? The and, or, and this is standing for what? The not. So again, somebody saying that is it the same thing with the bitwise? It's not the same thing with the bitwise. They are quite different. The bitwise is just single hand, single, or, and not, right? In our bitwise, if we look at sorry, is it bitwise or comparison? Under our comparison, where is it? Yeah, under our compare. No, I think it should be bitwise. Yeah, this is what, and this is or, and this is not under bitwise. But when you're looking at what your logical, under our logical, you're looking at what? Logical and, logical or, and logical not. So example of this would have been to do let's do something like console.log. If you do true and true, yeah, if we do your true and true, right? And if we do your, let's say you do your true and false, and if you do your what do we have here? If you do your false, right? Do your false and true. You do your false and true. And the last one is what? The last one is what? False and false. False and false. False and false. And so you can see that what this is what ratio what? You have 3 false to 1 true. So the only time you will always have true is when both of them is true. And every other one is going to be what? Is going to be what? False. I have a way I usually explain this to my students, right? The way I sort of explain this to my students is that let's assume, right, that they ask you to go and buy what? Rice. If they ask you to go and buy what? Rice and beans. And when you got to that destination, right, you only found that they have both rice and beans. Then you will be sure to buy the rice and beans that they ask you to buy, right? That is what you're buying. Or let's say you as a person, you want to buy rice and beans for yourself to eat. And you got to the restaurant and they have both rice and beans. And that is what you will buy the 2 rice and beans that you have. That is what, so you found rice and you found your beans. So you're going to buy that. But let's assume that what you want to eat rice and beans, and you go to the restaurant, they only have what? Rice, and they don't have beans. What happens to you? What happens to you in that situation? Just because you want to eat rice and beans, so it will make sense for you not to buy anything, because your requirement was that you want to buy rice and beans, but the only thing they have is just rice. So you can see you're not buying. And the same thing again is what? Let's say you go to that same restaurant, you want to buy rice and beans, and they have what? They don't have rice, they only have beans. But the combination that we want to buy is still what? Rice and beans. And so we are not going to buy, because the combination still maintains that we want to buy rice and beans. And so if they don't have rice and beans, then we're not buying. We're not interested in whatever they are buying, whatever they are selling. And that is what the beauty of you understanding the logical operators there. And you say you want to buy rice and beans, and they don't even have anything. They don't have the rice, they don't have the beans. Man, you don't just buy anything, you just walk away, right? Because they don't have anything you want to buy. And that is how to quickly and easily understand what? Your logical operators. That is how to quickly understand your logical operators here. So I can what? I can quickly touch on the or right there. So we can replace this with what? Or. And see, for the or, right, you have what? Everything is going to be what? You're going to have what? Um, you're going to have your or it's going to be false right there, so that in case false. So for here you have what? True or true, right? Is true, right? True or false is going to be also true, right? False or true is going to be true, and false or false, this is going to be what? False. So what happens again here? Can we use the rice and beans analogy again here? Right? Can we use the rice and beans analogy here? So let's say again, you as a person, you are interested in eating rice or beans. Note again, rice or beans. That's what you're interested in eating. And so when you go to the restaurant, they have both rice and they have both beans. So what are you going to do? You're just going to buy anyone you want to buy, because your criteria, your requirement is rice or beans. So you either go for your rice or you go for your beans, right? It makes sense. Now, let's say here that restaurant has what? Rice, but they don't have beans. What is your requirement? Your requirement is what? You want to buy what? Rice or beans, right? So you just pick anyone that you want to buy, because what? So, and that is why what? It is returning true right there. And let's say you have what? False or true. That is, you go to that same restaurant, they don't have the rice, but they have beans. Your criteria, what is the criteria again? Rice or beans. So you pick your beans since they don't have rice. And in this situation, false, both of them are false. They don't have the rice, they don't have the beans. And your criteria is to buy rice or beans. So you just walk away and say, well, they don't have anything I want to eat here. I might just go and get something else, get ice cream or get something good to eat. And that is what? That is your logical operator. So when you apply that to this situation here, this is a common question. You have three numbers represented by what? You have three numbers represented by A3, B3, and C3 right there, and find the greatest between them. So you're checking if A is what? If A is greater than what? B3. Is A greater than B3? And so if A is greater than B3 and that same A is greater than C, then A is the biggest guy. Or if B is greater than A and B is greater than C, then B is the biggest guy. And else you have your word C as the greatest guy there. So that's very, very interesting. The last part of your what? The last part of your conditional statement. What's the last part of our conditional statement? The last part of our conditional statement is what? We have what? Anytime we are doing condition, we have this situation where you can use the ternary. Do you remember the ternary operator? Right? That was one of the first earlier things we talked about in today's class, right? When we were doing operators. So the ternary, where's the ternary? Right here on this line. So the ternary is just equivalent to your if statement. That is, when you see your word, the question word, you see the question mark, right? The question mark is introducing the condition. So the question mark before this place is asking a question. Is 1 greater than what? 2. That's the question they are asking. And for the question, there must be a result of what? Whether it is either yes or no, right? Whether it is either a yes or a no, rather a yes or no, rather a yes or no. So here is 1 greater than 2. No, man, right? 1 can never be greater than 2. So here it's not going to be the first option will represent the true. The last option is representing what? The false, right? And you can see our result is what? No. And we can also use this ternary to solve what? Use the ternary. We can use what? Use the ternary to solve the greatest what? The greatest of three numbers. So if we want to use the ternary to solve the greatest of three numbers, right? What do we have here? Let's declare what? A variable to be A4, B4, and C4. So this would have been what? The greatest would have been what? Look at this. Let what? Greatest let the greatest equals to what? So what do we need to check? We are checking is A4 greater than B4, right? If A4 is greater than B4, you follow it with a question. Also, I need you to now check if A4 is greater than what? If A4 is greater than what? C4. So it means that in this situation now, the one that will be the greatest is going to be what? A4. Else, it is going to be C4. And why is it C4? The reason why it is C4 is that the condition here is that what? Since here A is greater than what? A is greater than what? B4. You know that automatically B4 is not even in this situation anymore. So at this situation here, it will either be what? A4 or C4, right? That is the situation. And here we are considering what? The else part, we are considering what? The B4. So we then need to compare the B4, right? We need to do what? B4 against C4. B4 against C4, right? If that is true, then B is the freaking greatest. And then else we have what? C4. And this is our ternary, right? It still does the same thing. Some persons like this. Some persons like the ternary. But the ternary can be very confusing for somebody who just started writing code. Ternary can be very confusing for somebody that just starts writing code. So, but it is very short and sometimes it is very concise, right? It does the thing very fast for you and go right here. For me to understand something like this, it would take me some time. I would have to look at it very well over and over before I understand what is going on. And that is because ternary can just be very, very confusing with the way it is. Everything is on one line. So if this one is true here, right, it will enter this one. And if this one is not true, it will go ahead and enter this line. And that is your ternary for you. Ternary for you. Any questions around the ternary? So how do you understand your ternary sign? The ternary sign is what? Your question mark and a colon. Question mark and a colon. Question mark and a colon. That is what signifies your word ternary. Question mark and a colon signifies your ternary. And yeah, what other things should we talk about on the if statement? What other things should we talk about on the if statement? On the conditions? I think that is absolutely all. I've talked about the logical operators. I've talked about the logical operators a little bit here. We've talked about the logical operators. Can we only have two for logical operators? We can have more than two, right? You can have the we can have the three versions of them. You can have console.log. Okay, Stanley saying switch, right? We should talk about switch. Switch. We could talk about switch. We talk about true, right? True and true and true and true. This is three now. You can see that this is combining three things together. And you can always do the respective versions of this. And you can always do the respective versions of this. So this is very, very, very easy. All right. So that is understanding. And there's one more thing with your logical operators, right? One more thing with your logical operator. Logical operator has the not. So not true is false, and not what false is true. That's a logical operator. So you can also combine your what? You can combine I think so. Let's just see. You can combine your not. So you can say what? Console.log not true, right? That's what. When you do not true this way, not true, what is happening? So this is two times. The first time, the not of true is false, and the not of false is what? True. And that's why you have your true here. And I think that this is the same thing as so you have the not, double not of false. So the first time it is going to be true, second time is going to be what? It's going to be false. And I think another equivalent to this is console.log. Console.log. I think tilde true should give me something like that. Can't remember what. I think is it double tilde now? Can't remember. One of them should give me. One of them should give me. I can't remember which one exactly. Whether it is double tilde. I think it's double tilde. I can't remember. Double tilde. Can't remember now what this does. Yeah. Can't remember what exactly this does. So I'm just going to quickly touch on. Stanley said we should touch on switch. Abdul Qadri said we should touch on optional null coalescing. The null coalescing. So before we touch on the null coalescing, right, it's important for us to know that we have, when you're declaring variables in JavaScript, you can declare a variable in this manner. You can say that, let's say we have admin equals to, we just have an admin that we did not give a value, and we can now say that what, well, or let's say password, or let's use password. Let's do password equals to password, and let's also do admin. So you're saying for, well, if the person is an admin, right? If the person is admin, so you're saying that if admin, let's say result 2 would have been, if admin, right, is true, right, assign them this value. So what happens here? How many of us have seen things like this before? So you're saying that if this is what true, right? If this is not true, sorry, if this admin is not true, then check this last one. So this is your what? We call it yes, the double, the double undoes the initial first one. Yeah, the double understand the initial first one. So we call this expression under the logical operator, we call it the logical, we call it, how do I call it now? The short circuit. So how do I explain this now? I'm finding the right term to explain this. So what this or is standing for here is that if this is false, then admin is going to be considered, right? The criteria to go to admin is that what? This admin must be what? Must be false. If admin has a value, right? If admin has a value, you would see that what? It is not going to touch, it's not going to get to this place, right? You can see that this is what? The code did not reach this place. The code only stopped here. And this is the process of your code stopping here, right? The process of your code stopping here is what you refer to as what? Short circuiting, right? The process of your code stopping at this admin. If admin has a value, the process of it stopping here is what you call what? Short circuiting, right? That is, it will not do the full thing. It will stop because admin is now true. It doesn't need to check this other thing. And likewise, if you check the what, if we check result 3, if you have admin, right, and admin is true, right, you want to consider password. Yeah, right. You want to consider password, right? But here, admin, so if admin is what? If admin is false, let's say here admin is false. What happens here? You can see that what? Since this is undefined, right? It doesn't get to password. It doesn't get to password. It stops here. And the result here is what? Undefined. So you know that what? Because this is what? Because this is what is false right here. It goes ahead, right? It stops here. It stops because this is false. The moment this is true, it will go into this place. So if this is to be true, right? If this is to be true, right? You will see that what? The result is now password, right? Because it checked this and it saw that it was true. So it will move into this. And the value of our what? Result 3 will be what? Password right there. So both this logical OR and the logical AND, they can short circuit, right? They have their short circuiting capacity. Short circuit, right? Short circuiting capacity. And in the light of its short circuiting capacity, that's where we also have what? We have what? The null coalescing what? Operator. So what happens with the null coalescing operator that Abdul Qadri was talking about? We have the null coalescing operator. So what is the nullish coalescing operator? So what this guy does here, the symbol of the nullish coalescing operator is what? Double question mark. So in this situation, right, we have admin, and let's say admin is what? True. And because admin is true right here, it stops here. It stops here. It doesn't get into this line because admin is true. But if admin is equals to null, what happens? If admin is equals to null, what happens? If admin is equals to null, so it can see that my admin is equals to null, and it will go ahead and assign the value of what? Admin to my result 4. So here, because what? Admin is null, it will go inside this place. It will go inside this what? Knowledge coalescing operator. That is, the only time something will go through this knowledge coalescing operator is if it is null or undefined. The only time it is going to pass through this question mark, this knowledge coalescing operator, is that what? This variable here must be what? Must be null or undefined. It must be null or undefined. It must be null or undefined, right? It must be null or undefined. So what happens there? If admin is null, it will check what? The last thing. But if admin is undefined, it will also check the last one. But if admin has its own value, if admin has a real value, right, either as 1 right here, you will see that what? It will stop here. It will short circuit. It will stop here, right? And the value of 1 will be assigned here. So when do we use something like, when do we use this knowledge, when do we use your logical, when do we use your logical, or when do we use the logical and when do we use your null coalescing operator? What are the situations? What are the criteria, right? When we are writing code, how do we identify the situations where we have to use what? The null coalescing, right? Or the logical and or the logical or, right? You just have to understand that the moment you have a variable and you're not sure whether that variable will have a value, you will always use the logical or as a fallback. So in this situation now, this logical or will be used in situations when you need a fallback. That is, God forbid, if this one is not working, right, it will always fall back to this one. And that is what you use your logical what? The logical or to do. Where do we use the logical hand? You use your logical hand when you need this one to be true, right? And you need this to be true, but this is not what you need. It is just a criteria, a condition that this must be true before you can assign the real value to this. So here, the situation where you use your logical and is that what? Admin is required for us to go through to password. So if admin is there's no value for admin, then we will not get to password. So here, because admin has a real value of 1, right, it will go further to what? To password. And that is the beautiful situations where you need. And where are the situations that we need our what? The null coalescing. You need your null coalescing when you know that what? My admin has a tendency to be null or undefined, right? Those are the conditions. That is, if my admin and what? My admin is either null or undefined, then I want it to be checked. And so if it is null or undefined, let me give it this fallback here, right? But if it is not equal to undefined, I won't give it any fallback here. Do you understand, right, what that does there? And yeah, the last thing I want to talk about today, which is should I talk about it today? The switch. Stanley talked about the switch. Should we talk about switch today? Or let me take questions. If you have questions, let me take questions. So next week Friday, I would just be talking about next week Friday. I will just be talking about. Let me see what I have to talk about next week Friday. Next week Friday would have been what we have: what loops, switch, functions, expressions, arrow functions, the basics of arrow functions. Next Friday. Okay, Abdulkadir is saying that when we use them together, which one has precedence? When we use them together, which one has precedence? Okay, let's look at it together to understand. Let's look at the precedence table. I think in the precedence table, let me open MDN so that we can get the precedence table. So the precedence table, operator table here shows where's the precedence table? So when you talk about your precedence, right, the things that are grouped with your parentheses are important, right? Your member access, when we get to objects, right, is as higher precedence, right? Optional chaining has the another higher level precedence. So this, the one with the highest value, which is 18, has the highest precedence. The 17, right? This 17 now is the next, right? And the new keyword, right? New keyword, when we are talking about constructors, right? The postfix and the post increment, right? And decrement, they are 15. They also have higher precedence, right? The prefix, right? The unary, all this binary, right? The bitwise not, when they are in their unary, right? They are 14, right? And the exponentiation has what? 13. And multiplication has 12, right? Multiplication, division, modulo division, and the bitwise also have like 10 right there. And so you can see that what the logical hand is 4. You see that it has the least, one of the ones that have the least precedence. The logical hand, the logical hand has a higher precedence compared to what? The logical or. The logical hand has what? A higher precedence compared to what? The logical or. Are you getting that, Abdul Qadri? The logical hand has what? A higher precedence compared to what? The what? Compared to what? The logical or. Logical hand has what? A higher precedence compared to what? The logical or. So logical hand has higher precedence over the logical or and the null coalescing right there. And so the null coalescing and the or. So if you also to compare now the null coalescing, and the logical OR. So logical OR has higher precedence right there. And the one that has the least one is the comma what? You can see here, the comma operator is the least what? That has the least precedence here, and followed by the assignment and their what? The assignment and the respective what? The respective modifier in place of the assignment has what? So it is important for you to know this precedence table, right? Just have an idea of which one is considered first and what not, right there. And you would always what benefit there. So someone is saying I should take switch. I should take the switch statement. So let's try to look at what the switch statement is. Switch statement, the switch statement is just an advance of what? The switch statement is an advance of what? An advance of what? Our what? The switch statement or is an advance of what? Our what? If statement. You know that the thing with our if statement, especially when we have our multiple if statement, what happens with our multiple if statement? The multiple if statement is at that stage, you're comparing what? You're comparing, there are multiple conditions. Am I making sense? Multiple conditions. And so when we have multiple conditions, right, you now can what? You can now switch between what? You can now switch between multiple conditions. You can switch between what? The multiple conditions. So for example, let's say if the day is 1, right? We want to write a switch statement that is going to be printing the right day out. So how do we start our switch statement? You start with the switch keyword, right? The condition, right? You put inside your condition, right? Condition. I'm going to attend to your question, Kenechukwu, in a moment, and then you open your curly braces. So what is our condition? We want to be switching day, right? So based on the day that they pick, whatever day that they pick, we want to switch. We want to switch. And how do you switch? You switch by what? Using what? Case, right? You can say case 1 is equals to what? Well, 1 is always what? The first day, Monday, and Copilot is completing it for us. So if they put 1, right, you know that what? That's Monday. If they put day to be 2, you know that that is Tuesday. If they put day to be 3, right? The major thing you have to take note with your case is what? Case 1 colon what? This is the action statement. And after the action statement, you are breaking. After each action statement, you are breaking. So if I switch this to 2, right, you will see that what? Our value will go to Tuesday. If I switch it to 3, it will go to Wednesday, right? Because it will only pick one condition at a time. So it is just checking. Well, the value is 3. Okay, which one is 3? This is the one that matches 3. And it allows us to do. And I think that it allows us to do multiple, right? Or you can combine. So I can combine 3 and 4 to be one statement now, one switch here. So I can say that this, let me just combine these together to be 1. Let me combine 3 and 4 to be 1, and let's see. So if we want to combine 3 and 4, you can say case, let's just do multiple. I want to do multiple case. All right, here, multiple case. So you have what? Case 3. I think I'm trying to remember how to combine. I've forgotten how to combine that. Anybody remembers how to combine? Multiple switch statement. Multiple switch cases. Switch statement in JavaScript. So again, you can always forget something, right? The moment you forget something, you can always check MDN, right? And check all these things up. You don't have to cram anything. Yes, I've remembered. So this is a way to combine this. So it would have been that what? I would have combined it by saying what? Just do this, duplicate this, right? Case 3 and case 4. And yeah, so it means that for both case 3 and case 4, it is Wednesday that we apply. So whether I pick 4, if I pick 4, it is still going to be Wednesday. You can see. And that is beautiful. Switch statement is clean. How many of you know that when you look at switch statement compared to if statement, sometimes switch is sort of clean, and you can really quickly identify what's going on with the switch statement right there. But most of the time, the if statement comes very handy, most especially when you quickly just want to check one condition. But when there is multiple, then the switch becomes something that you can quickly consider. And I think that this default is another very cool feature of your switch statement. Having a default is another very cool feature of what your switch statement. So basically, the major thing is every switch must have what? A what? And I think that if you want to do multiple statements here, you can use what? You can use a curly braces, right? You can use a curly braces to do multiple statements there. So that way, you can use a curly bracket to do multiple statements. You can use your curly bracket to do multiple statements. So if the case is 5, let's switch to 5. If it's 5, right? You can see multiple statements with our curly brackets here. So that is that about switch statement. Any question? Kenechuku is asking about bitwise operator. What is your question about bitwise operator? What is your question about bitwise operator? Hmm. So for the bitwise, let's just get deeper to understand what it's doing. So bitwise and operator returns a number or big int whose binary representation has a 1 in each bit position for which corresponding bits of both 1. Look at this. So when you look at 5 here, and when you convert 5 to, if you convert 5 to binary, let's do this. Let's play with this. Let's play with this. I think I sort of get what it's saying there. Can you see my console? Can you all see my console? Can we all see my console? So if we have 5 and you want to do a 5 dot to string and you convert it to base 2, I think let's do this. Let's do this. Let num equals to 5 and you do what? Num dot to string and you convert it to what? Convert it to base 2 right here. And if we check for 3, let's check for still base 2, but let us set the number to, let's set num to be equals to what? Num to be 3. So if we now do, so if you do 5 and 3, what will be the answer? If you do 5 and 3, what will be the answer? 3. Why is 3 the answer? Because when you convert 3 to base 2, 3 contains, all the bits of 3 contains 1. All the bits of 3 contains 1. All the bits of 3 contains 1. So that's why 3 is the answer. Let's look at num equals to what? Equals to 4. And you can say what? Num to what? Num to string. So yeah. So if you do 5 and 4, 5 and 4. So which one is he going to pick in this situation? 5 and 4. Both of them have 0 in their bits. Both of them have 0 in their bits. I'm trying to think about this. I'm trying to think about this. This is for 4. This is for... I need to understand how this works. need to really understand how the bitwise this work. I need to understand how the bitwise work. Um, hmm. The bitwise AND operator returns in a number of bits whose binary representation has a 1 in each bit position for which the corresponding bit of both operands are 1. I can't understand this. This English is too technical for my brain. So let's ask our AI to help us to break that down into something that we can understand. So almost bitwise operator returns a number or a big int whose binary representation has a 1 in each bit position if both operands have a 1 in that position. Either operand has 0 in the particular position, then the result will have a 0 in that position. Chat GPT, make something simple. You just made it complicated. Chat GPT just made it complicated. So you're saying that 5 and 3 would result in 1 because 5 is what? 101 and 3 is what? 011. So the bitwise AND will now be what? Oh, I get what is going on. I just got what is going on. Yes. So basically, what is happening is that if we do, let's just say, let Z equals to 5 and let Y, no, let's say Y2, because I think I've used Y before. Let Y equals to 3. And let us convert both of them to base what? Base 2. Convert to base 2, right? And if you convert to base 2, that would have been something like this, and that would have been something like this. So now what is happening here is that you are now putting 101 and you're putting what? 011. Which so the first one and the first one here, both of them are 1. This is the criteria here. The bit of 5, the first bit here is 1, and what? The first bit of 3 here is 1. And so that is why the result, I think the result is 1, based on what ChatGPT said. So here, ChatGPT is saying that what? So 1 and 1, the first one and first one. So when you do the AND together, okay. So look at this way. I think we've done something like this in logic. If you have done computer science, you would have done something like this. So 1 and 0 will be what? 0. 0 and 1 will be what? 0. And 1 and 1 will only be what? 1. Wow. And so the result will now be what? The result will now be 1. So the result of your word Z and Y will be what? 1. Let's try another one so that one will now determine whether we are correct. We understand the method. So another one would have been, let's try Z2 and Y3, and we want this to be 5 and we want this to be 4. Okay, so if you do Z2 and Y3, so the result is what? 101 and 100. So let's do for this now. Let's do for this. Yeah, the result will now be what? 1 0 0, and 100 to 100 to base 100 to base 2 should be I can't remember 100 to base 2. What is 100 to base to decimal? 100 to decimal. Huh. Let Z3 equals to 100, and 100 to decimal Z3 dot, let's pass int of Z3, right? Of Z3 convert Z3 to base to normal number, and that should give us what? 4. Okay, so now let's do Z2 and what? Z2 and Y3. 4. I think I got it. Yes, I got it. So let me do another one to be sure that I know what I am saying. Do you understand now? Anybody understand what just happened here for the bitwise and? So for the bitwise and, let's just do one more to solidify that. One more example to solidify the whole thing. So this would have been Z4 and Y4. So let's do something like 6 and 2. Let's do 6 and 2. So convert Z4 to and Y4 to base 2. So we have 101 Y3. So you can now say what? Z5. So here the first one is what? 1 0, and the other one is what? 1 0. So this is going to be what? 0 1 0. And so if we want to solve this now, 1 and 0 is 0, 1 and 1 is 1, and 0 and 0 is what? 0. And if you want to convert this, I think 0 1 0, if you want to convert 0 1 0 to 0 1 0 to 0 1 0 to, okay, so it would have been what? 2. And if I do Z4 and Y4, that's 2. Okay, we got that. I think I got that right. Yeah. So anybody who does not understand that now, so for the bitwise and the bitwise hand is using the location of what? 1. It's comparing their location of 1 in this manner. It's comparing the location of 1. So anytime it is 1 and 1, then it will keep the 1 right there. And that is what happens there. I mean, I just learned this on this call here now. I didn't know how this worked before, and I just learned this here. So I am guessing that the bitwise or would just be the opposite of this. The bitwise or will be the opposite of what we just did. Just the exact opposite of what we just did. So for example, if we want to do the exact opposite of this, which is 7, so it means that if you want to do the opposite of this now, the opposite would have been that what? I think. So the opposite would have been 1 and 0 will be 1. 0 and 1 will be what? 1. And 1 and 1 is going to be 0. And all we just need to do is what? So this is the what? This is the and this is the what? This is the or. And so if we convert 110 to, if you convert 110 to, let's say we convert 110, let's put in a variable. Let Z11 equals to what? 110, and pass int of this. This should give us 7. It's giving us 6. It's giving us 6. So it's not working. What am I missing? Let me check. Bitwise or, how does the bitwise or work? The bitwise or works here. Okay. I got it. So any occurrence of one, so this would have been the answer here. And this is why it is 7. Any occurrence of 1, you're just going to write it. Any occurrence of 1. And even if it is 1, 1, you're going to note 1, 1 there. Right? So that's 7. So let me guess for this other one here. If you want to do the hand of this and the or of this would have been 1, 0, 1. And if you do 1, 0, 1, I just learned a lot like this on this call. I just learned this whole thing here. And let's do pass int of z z31 to base 2, right? And that's supposed to give us 5. So if we duplicate these and get the or of this, we get our 5. So that is beautiful. Kenechukwu, you were the one who asked this question. Did you get the way they are operating? Did you get the way the bitwise and the bitwise or works? You get the way the bitwise hand and the bitwise or works. And I think what will be the not? The bitwise not. I'm struggling to understand this one. This one is complex. My brain cannot pick this one. So if 5 is 101, then the bitwise not of 5. The bitwise not of 5 is okay. It's quite straightforward. So if 5 is this, then the bitwise of 5 now, the bitwise of 5 is the opposite. So you just replace all the zeros. But how do we know the numbers? How do you know the numbers, the count? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. How do you know that it's 32 bits? How do we know that it's 32 bits? That's deep computer science stuff. So for everywhere there is just 0, you replace 0 with 1, and everywhere there is 1, you replace that with what? 0. So every of the zeros were replaced with 1 in this line, and all the ones were replaced with 0, and that is your not. And you convert the result back to your decimal. So what this thing does here, this bitwise operator, is that it does the binary switching of those value. Yeah, if they are 32 bits by default, how do we then know that they are 32 bit by default? There should be a computer science. There should be a computer science logic to why it is 34, why it is 32 bits. I cannot place it now, but that's worth asking. So that's I mean, I think this is the both the bitwise not, the bitwise or, and the bitwise and pretty much. So there is also the bitwise operators treat its operand as a set of 32 bits, zeros and ones, and perform actions. Okay. So it treats all the result as 32 bits. That's interesting. So it has the assignment version of it. So what does the assignment version of it does? Bitwise assignment performs the bitwise and on two operands and assign the result. Okay, okay. So it does the bitwise of 5 and 3. It does the bitwise of 5 and 3 and assign the result to be what? To be here. I mean, this is not bad. I mean, that's not bad. That is not bad. So what they are saying there is console.log 5 and 5 and 3, right? Which is 1. And yeah, it does the bitwise and assign 1 to be inside of what? Assign 1 to be inside of A. I mean, that's pretty smooth. So it does the bitwise or and assign the value to be here. So the other ones that is left for us to study, right? You can go and try that out. You have the exclusive or, returns a number or big into binary. I mean, this exclusive or is similar to the or itself. Very similar to the or. Because every place that is okay, every place that there is 1 is replaced with 0. Okay, I get it. In the or, 1 and 1 is 0 as well. 1 and 1. So 1 and 1 is 0 in the exclusive or, whereas in the or, 1 and 1 is 1. How do you keep, this is crazy. How do people remember all these things? Programmers are just weird people. We are weird people. Because people use this, some persons love to use these things a lot. And I just wonder how they know how to use this. So bitwise operations on 32-bit numbers are common in computing because many processors and systems use 32-bit to represent integers or memory address. Okay. So I'm trying to understand the situations I'm going to use this exclusive or. The situations where you're going to use the exclusive or. And okay, the exclusive or, and then the bitwise. Where's the bitwise? So we have the other ones. I think we have the bitwise. So we have, I already learned how to do this, how to use this, how to use this, how to use this. So we have just the left shift, the right shift, and the zero shift here. I think on this note, I'm just going to bring the streaming to a close. Right, it's been a lot of basic JavaScripting, right? We're just doing JavaScript here. I really appreciate the contributions of people in the comments. Thank you for your interaction. And the thing about the stream is, even myself, I am learning as I am doing this. It's not just like I am just like I know it all. No, I don't know it all. The streaming is just an avenue for all of us to just become better, to improve our skill, and to just become better engineers. And I mean, you can see that the bitwise thing, I don't know how they work. And we checked the documentation and we learned how it was how they just work right here on this call. So um again, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining this stream. All right. Thank you for joining today's stream. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about React, and we're going to be going into Next.js proper. Because for some while now we have been talking about Next.js. For those who have been joining the stream on Saturday, we talk about React. We talked about React in the first two streams. So I'm going to be talking about Next.js, and I'm going to be doing Tailwind, and we're going to be using that to build a product. I'm just going to build something, right? Just something interesting. I so just come in your mass, invite your friend, right? We're just going to be doing Next.js, Tailwind, and we're just going to use that, combine that together to build something amazing. So tomorrow we're just going to be learning how Next.js work, right? We're going to be learning the internal working of Next.js, and when we get the hang of how Next.js work, then we can start adding Tailwind and building amazing things. I'm thinking we should build a e-commerce project, or we should build an AI, something that can use AI or something. Is that an e-commerce or something that can use AI? I've not decided yet. If you have suggestions, you can drop your suggestions on what we should build. So I'm going to drop the link on I'm going to drop the link on the YouTube channel and on Twitter and on Twitch for as many persons who would love to join. Again, thank you for joining today's stream. You don't know how much I appreciate everybody who's supporting this, right? I see this as an opportunity. I see this as an avenue to learn. I see this as an avenue to become, better, right, as a programmer. And I hope that eventually you become skilled, you are able to get jobs, and you're able to move forward in your career. So thank you once again for joining the stream, and have a wonderful night rest. Bye for now. Um, all right. Thank you. Abdul Qadir, you're saying I should create a repo, right? So that others can check the code later. Well, we might not create a repo. I didn't keep the first class. I didn't keep the code for the first class. So I'll probably just put it in a gist file and share that. I'll put it in a gist file and share that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll put it in a gist file and share it. All right. Thank you for that. And bye for now.